Hi everyone, my name is Mike. I am the founder and editor of a website called Highway 81 Revisited, which is a music news website based in Scranton. Content obviously is a broadly defined thing, so the way I'm going to do this is going to be based on examples from my website. So if you're not interested in music at all, I hope this is still interesting, because it doesn't really matter in some ways what your content is, as long as it's good, I guess, and of interest to your readers. Just really briefly, just a little bit about me, so you know my background a little. I have basically a journalism background, mostly print journalism, mostly newspapers for about 13 years. That's what I studied in school. I went to Penn State journalism and then St. Joe's in Philadelphia for graduate school. I started this website about 2 years ago. It's next year. It's an online, as it says, it's a source for music news and reviews. I mean, we have a little bit of breaking news items. So, like the Kirby Center in Wilkes-Barre announced the concert yesterday. So, I got the press release on that, type something up really quick, post that, and then you push it to Facebook and Twitter, and hopefully some people share it. We'll talk more about that later. And then interviews that we set up. So, we'll have phone interviews, whether it be a local artist or more of a national artist. Here's just a screen cap of the website from I think a couple weeks ago. So it's a WordPress website. I mean, we're not here to talk about design, but it's WordPress with some tweaks. A guy that is pretty talented does some work for me, and he did some back-end programming on it. So the way it's laid out, basically, we have our menu at the top. Some of the stuff I mentioned, like interviews, reviews. We have an ad up there for a Kirby Center show, their advertising. But you can't, this main section here, it says New Dr. Dog song. That's our featured stories. So all our lead stories are up there, and it cycles through, which you can't see here. So after a few seconds, it will cycle to a different lead story. And then the categories are broken down there. And then on the right, you'll see our social networking icons. And the other thing there is a streaming audio player. So the music website should have actual music on it that you can listen to. That's one advantage that online has over newspapers. I find myself writing these 1,000-word articles about some band, and you can't hear it by listening to that. So in some ways, it's somewhat pointless. And then we offer video content throughout. So when deciding what to post on the site, this is what I go through kind of. I don't really think about these things. I put this together for this presentation, but I think you just kind of use your intuition. But one thing up top is it exclusive? Now, if the answer to that is no, it doesn't mean we're not going to post it. But what could we do that, let's give our readers or visitors something that they can't get anywhere else. And I kind of learned this the hard way 2 years ago. I was all excited because I got an email, a press release from the band Foo Fighters, which are a pretty big band. And it was, we selected several blogs, and we're going to allow you to embed our new album on your website a week before it comes out, so people could listen to it. So this is great. So I post that, and I'm hitting refresh, I'm checking the Google Analytics, and maybe 20 people came to them, what's going on here? These people have millions of fans. And what I realized is, if someone was looking for that type of content, they're going to find it elsewhere. They're going to find it Rolling Stone. They're going to find it, in Spin, maybe New York Times or something. And as a new website 2 years ago, if you Googled new Foo Fighters album, you'd probably have to go to page 20 to even get the link to my site. So it was a bit of a lesson. I was a little disappointed, but I don't know what happened a few weeks later where I wrote something about a small local band, and that got 1,000 links because it was the only place that had it. So it was exclusive. It wasn't necessarily major, but it was exclusive. Now that doesn't mean you shouldn't do the Foo Fighters type thing, but don't bank on it, and don't have that anchor your content, and don't be discouraged if something like that doesn't take off like wildfire. Is it relevant to our readers? That kind of goes into the next point. Is it something we're interested in? So myself and the other people that write for the site, and our photographers and people involved, we're all pretty big music fans. We read other blogs, websites, magazines. So if it's something that we're interested in, we think that our target audience would also be interested in, or maybe would be interested in it at least. And also, is this the type of thing that I would like to read? So you kind of want to create a blog. It's like writing a book that you would actually go out and buy. So create a website that I'd be happy to check every day and come back to. does it have potential to be shared, like other sites, social networking? I mean, you don't want to write something just so people share it, but you know, you learn people's tendencies, and you know, like if you tag certain people in a post on Facebook that they're going to share it, you know other people aren't. So, I mean, maybe if you have limited time, just consider that. Like, does this have the potential to be shared? Is it a current event that's going on? If you hashtag it, you know, it's something in the news, a trending topic, something like that. That's good, because I mean, you really need that social networking exposure. Quality versus quantity. I don't do this full time, so I can't be posting like all day. Some sites do that because they have, you know, a budget. People are doing it full time. So I try to, you know, keep it fresh. So if you go to the site a few times a day, it at least looks like something's new. And like those featured stories I showed you up top, those should change a few times a day. If that's static, then people are going to give up and say, well, this guy hasn't updated, they haven't updated the site in 2 days, so I'm not going to come back. And you may lose people that way. At the same point, don't just post something just to post it. For an example, like, you don't, I would advise, don't just jump on some trending topic just so it shows up in people's news feeds. For example, we cover all different genres of music, but we don't generally cover like the top 40 pop thing, just because that's a whole other world. So like when the Miley Cyrus like twerking thing happened and everyone's talking about it, you know, I could have written some goofy column about it, and I didn't. Like, it doesn't mean I shouldn't have, but I think people could see if you're going for like cheap hits, you know what I mean? And you're just like, everyone's talking about the Super Bowl, so hashtag Super Bowl, talk about the halftime show. And like, that's suitable to certain sites, but I think readers are too smart and too savvy, and they see that, and like, you're just trying to latch onto some trend. So, you know, maybe try to get some long-term visitors to come back. And maybe if you did the Miley Cyrus thing, you'd get like 500,000 hits that day, but how many of those people are going to come back the next day? Probably very few. And if they do, they'll be disappointed because we won't be talking about that anymore. Establish your voice, I think, kind of ties in with that. A little bit of that is like people should maybe get used to your writing style a little bit. You should have some sort of writing style. Don't make it just about yourself. I mean, a site like this it's not a personal blog. It's not like a Tumblr about, you know, here's my cat or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what this is. So it's news-based, but it still should have some sort of personality. And, you know, that'll probably come out naturally in your writing. And even though we have several different writers, I think we all have unique voices. We all have some similarities. We're all, you know, maybe roughly within the same 10 years age group, similar interests. And we all like music, and we all hopefully could write at least a little bit. This is just an example of something being posted, different ways our content has been shared, and hopefully could happen for you on your site. This guy is Don Felder. He was in the Eagles until he was fired. He co-wrote Hotel California. So I did a phone interview with him about a month ago, and you know, when it's the person that sets up the interview for an artist like this, usually the publicist, they work for the record label or the management. And they set it up, they tell you, Don will call you at 10 o'clock, or you call him or something. And when it's done, you know, it's general, like courtesy, you email the link to the publicist saying, you know, thanks for the interview, here's a link to it. Sometimes they do nothing with it. I did a Google search and found this, and was pretty happy about it. So if you go to his site and go under news, they posted a link to the interview, and they, you know, it was nice to have that on there, and then you could go back and check your Google Analytics and see how many people came there from that. But that helps you, like, it's nice to have that legitimacy, because maybe the next thing down, I don't know what it was, but maybe it was like New York Times and Rolling Stone. So just by having your site be linked and be in the company of some major sites, or with a major artist like this guy, is nice, and that helps establish some credibility, and it might lead to some traffic to your site, and it might lead to nothing, but it's you know, it's a nice little feather in your cap, I guess. Here are more like social networking examples of the same thing, like 3 different examples. The top 2 are from Twitter. This guy, Sam Grittner, is a comedian. He's a comedy writer as well, I believe. I'm not sure of this. I think he's writing for the HBO series Girls right now. So that was just like a shout out from him. I will say that led to exactly 0 followers, which just kind of shows you, like, you can't force people like to click. He has, I don't know how many thousand, maybe a couple 100,000 followers, and not one of them followed us after that. And he says if you're into music, so maybe these people weren't into music. I don't know. This one, the next one is from a concert venue in Wilmington, Delaware, World Cafe Live in Queen, they're called. And they just posted about, we interviewed this guy, Steve Kimmock, who's going to perform there. And this wasn't just a retweet, like they actually, you can tell they have a pretty good social networking presence because they tagged the artist, they tagged my website, and then they tagged Spring Lello, who was going to be in the band that night. So that was kind of cool. So it's a way, when you write about stuff that other people want to promote, that helps too. Like they want to sell tickets to their show. We wrote about their show. So that's not there to promote us. That's there to show this interview was done to get people to come to their show. But it benefits them, it benefits my site, and it benefits the artist too, Steve Kimmock. And this last thing is that's just cut and paste from a website. There's a website called Blabbermouth, which is it's considered the heavy metal of CNN. The CNN of heavy metal, I should say. It's even better, according to Wikipedia anyway. And they just post news links to various hard rock and heavy metal news. So we had an interview with Alice Cooper, and they picked that up. And they run like the first couple lines of the interview, and then they say, for more, click here, which is great. They don't just totally cut and paste your stuff, which KISS does, by the way. KISS will take your photos, your article, and they will post the whole thing, and they will credit you, but they won't link it because they don't want anyone leaving their site, I guess. So anyway, so that was good. We still get some traffic from that. People that go to Blabbermouth every day are, that's a captive audience for that genre of music. So to get linked somewhere like that is fantastic. Differentiating yourself from other sites. I'm going to talk to some music specifics here, music sites. Like Pitchfork, for example, that's like the biggest indie rock website. They're really big, they're very influential. When a band gets reviewed on there, they make a big deal out of it. Right now, if a band got reviewed by Pitchfork and Rolling Stone, they would probably put a sticker about the Pitchfork review on the album before they would even mention Rolling Stone. They're really a tastemaker, for better or worse. But they only cover indie rock, and now they cover hip-hop. I don't know why, but they do. Blabbermouth, I just mentioned, they only cover heavy metal. Nothing wrong with that. But as an example, we're a little more diversified than that. And part of a lot of it just stems from my interests, just as a listener of music. But just as an example, on September 17th, just picking one day, like as a snapshot, we posted that interview with Don Felder from the Eagles I showed you. So it's like classic rock. That's maybe going to appeal to older people, maybe not. And new songs by two indie bands, Dr. Drop and West Coast, which is totally different. College age folks listen to that, or you could like me, you like both. But we're not too diversified. Like going back to like the Miley Cyrus cover, you're all going to map and have them focus. So that's one way to differentiate yourself and be different is to maybe not say, well, I've seen this one site is they only write about this, they only write about that. Well, why not diversify a little bit? And then that becomes like your niche is the fact that you don't really have maybe an exact niche, possibly. Let's talk about social networking a little bit. We post links to everything, all of our content for the most part, and then maybe we'll reshare it later on. And then lately, we'll do like in case you missed it, this is like an acronym for that, like ICE, I can figure out, ICYMI, I guess. So basically, like, maybe we had an interview last week, and now we're just refreshing people's memory, or maybe they didn't see it. I mean, even on Facebook, we have like roughly 700 Facebook followers, and under each post, it'll show me like 300 people saw this, 200 people saw that. So we try to target when to post these things to. So if you send something out like at 7 a.m. and people aren't on their phones or on their computer, you might not get a lot of reaction to it. So I haven't really studied it, but I noticed like 10 a.m. is okay, 11, 2, 3. And then after like 5, people are gearing up to shut down and leave their office, so you might not get as much. I also noticed like a lot of major artists that are trying to reach people nationally, they send a lot of stuff out at 1 p.m. Between 1 and 1:30 yesterday, I got 16 press releases. And one thing I thought about is, well, at least West Coast people are awake, functioning by then, because it's 10 a.m. for them. So maybe they're like, okay, it's the post-lunch crowd on the East Coast, 10 a.m. out there. Most of our traffic is Philadelphia and Scranton-Wilkes-Barre, so I'm not too concerned about the West Coast. But I saw like the other day Paul McCartney, he basically, because whoever runs his Facebook, they did everything twice. They did like an East Coast feed, and then they redid it again. So, it's something to keep in mind. Another thing was, another thing in social networking, we don't just tweet, we don't just share our links. Sometimes we try to start a conversation. And the first couple times it was like tumbleweeds. I'd ask a question like, what's the best concert you've seen all year? And then, people will click like what does that mean? Like, You like that I asked that? So this one had at least 20 comments. They're unfortunately not up there, but it was pretty neat. And also it's a way to kind of like take the pulse of your readership. So if the 20 comments were like all the same show, that kind of shows you not that that was a good show, but those are the people that are coming to your site. And if they all mention something that you've never even heard of, it might be something you want to look into. The answers were all over the map, which kind of our content is too, so that was kind of neat. Another thing we do with social networking, offer something of value. So like, if you're going to follow the site or sign up for our email newsletter, you know, we're going to make it worth your while. You're going to boost our hits. So we should give you a reason to feel somewhat invested. So this is just a picture of this guy, Jason Isbell, that played at the Kirby Center. And that's just a little board. We worked with the Kirby Center on a ticket giveaway. And also a ticket discount. It was actually Kirby's idea, but they came up with a password, and if you use that password, you would get $5 off your tickets on their website. Unfortunately, that thing crashed on their website, so we went old school with it, and you had to actually like give the password to the box office. I'm not sure how that worked. I didn't follow up on that, to be honest with you. So we partnered with everyone from, as far as ticket giveaways, from a small bar in Scranton called The Bog, where we gave out some guest list spots to one of their shows, all the way up to Thursday night, we partnered with Live Nation, which is the largest entertainment company in the world, for a Flaming Lips concert at Penn's Landing in Philadelphia. And we gave out 2 pairs of tickets. That was just basically post a thing on Facebook. If you're interested in winning tickets, email us, we gave an email address, and we got like instantly like 10 people, and we picked, I think, 2. And that was a situation where, you know, sometimes, you know, these larger concerts, they have free tickets built into their budget. So they're going to use those to give to people to like review the show. There's going to be radio, you know, you're here on the radio, caller number 7, that's pair of tickets. Well, they reach out to websites too for this. And, you know, if you're doing something like that, why not reach out to them? And a lot of times they'll say yes. So if you, let's say you're having a website about local theater, you know, why not contact them? They're getting the promotion of the contest, so maybe if 100 people see this and only 2 win, maybe 5 more will buy tickets. So, you know, the venue wins as well. Establishing credibility. This is just, you know, based on our site, but everyone, I don't think anyone that's written for the site, I don't think it's been their first time as a published writer, even in an online situation. Everyone's written for various sites or newspapers or whatever, or studied journalism in some fashion. So there's that credibility. I mean, hopefully that comes through just in the writing. You're not going to read it and say, I can tell this person has a journalism degree. But you could probably, if it was really bad and amateurish, that I think would stand out. And it does. And that's the one problem with the internet and blogs. It's the Wild Wild West, and anyone can set up a site. But I think if you would, I mean, I'm not saying this to be cocky or anything, but I think if you went through the site, you'd realize it's not amateur out. You may be bored by it and not be interested. I don't think you would say this is just a joke. Most of us have existing relationships, whether it be with readers to an extent that will follow our content through various outlets. Also, like music industry people, like the examples I just gave with these ticket events. And you know, I get emails, hey, so-and-so's coming to town, do you want to interview them? And the groundwork was already set a little bit because of myself and the other people that write for the site and our photographers. We don't really have to introduce ourselves to these people within the industry, for the most part, within this area and Philadelphia, a little bit New York. So they're getting email and we're saying, can I have 2 tickets to go review some show? They don't have to say, who are you, what are you doing? They know it's not like Rolling Stone. But at the same point, they know it's not an amateur operation. And you know, you establish credibility not only with your content, but also they know if they give you tickets to review the show, you're going to show up, you're going to do the review. It's not a scam. I mean, again, anyone can start a website because they don't want to pay to get into concerts and they don't want to buy albums, and they just say, send me the album so I can review it and give me tickets to review the show. And then, you know, I think publicists have a way of figuring out like who the people are that are not being legit. But again, we haven't really had to worry about that. Another thing, existing in real life, it's obviously the internet, which doesn't really exist. But you know, try to interact with your readers, your potential readers, people that could partner with you, potential advertisers. So a couple examples of how we've been able to do this. Like reviewing a concert, but when you're there, I mean, one thing that's kind of annoying that I've used to my advantage, when I'm taking notes at a concert, there's always at least one person that's, why are you taking notes? You know, like, And this one lady in Philly was actually like demanding to see my notes and like, what are you writing? Why are you doing that? How are you going to be able to understand your handwriting? And I just told her, look, I said, why don't we just check out the finished product? And I wrote down the website address and said, why don't you do that? And I was polite about it, but she was getting on my nerves. And that way it was a way to promote the site too. So interact with people, go to shows. This is a great opportunity for us to kind of talk about the nuts and bolts of what we do, interact with like-minded people. And the Arts on the Square is another example. It was an event in downtown Scranton. A young woman that was running the event said, would you like to have a table for presents here? I said, if it's free, and she said yes. I said, okay. Because I wasn't selling anything. There was people selling their artwork, and they had to pay. So I said yes, and I said, well, what the heck am I going to do? It's a blog. It's not real. It doesn't exist in the real world. What do I do when I'm actually physically there? So I had a banner made, saying over the table. I already had some pins made and stickers that people like, and some contests, and you could have won some framed concert photos. So that went really well. We got over 100 people to sign up for our email list, which now we could market. And you know, for example, email list, it's like, you know, you do the legwork and you build up an email list, people will pay you for access to your email list. Not to get, I wouldn't sell people's contact information. I mean, that's probably not appropriate, but like, for example, if the Kirby Center wants to announce a concert, they could pay me to announce it on our email list. So that's something we're actually kind of looking into, build it up, maybe like 1,000 subscribers to that, and run contests and this and that. And I do know, I heard a number recently that's pretty high, that a venue paid to a magazine that has an email list, and it was like, wow, I heard that number, I'm like, okay, this is a really good idea. You can get involved and make some money. Promotions, you know, we had a launch party for the blog May of 2011. We did it at the Bog in Scranton, which I mentioned before. We had a couple local bands, a band that happened to be touring through the area that was really good. They got on board. Gallery of Sound, record store got involved, and they did some giveaways. Maybe, I can't remember. Kirby Center was involved with some ticket giveaways to the show. Another local promoter. And you know, most people there just came to see the music and didn't care about the website or anything. So it was just we created a night for people to come out and have fun and you know, kind of kick things off. We're going to do another one in Philadelphia really soon. We're working on that for December or January, just to kind of introduce ourselves to that market, invite some of the industry types out. And again, like, it's one thing to just sit, I run this from my kitchen table. It's one thing to do that, but to actually be there and say you're not just some guy like in your mother's basement blogging, you know, you're actually there. We're writing about music, we're here at events, we're involved with this, we're showing up to things, in contests, which I mentioned. So that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions? No one? Okay. Thanks. Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay.
So it takes people a little while.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
I had to wake up. I just finished my coffee. Good to go. Do venues like the Kirby Center and stuff like that require you to provide analytics in order to allow you to do giveaways and stuff?
That's a great question. I think some of these places kind of have a feel for it, and if you try to lie to them, I mean, I don't recommend lying at all anyway, but like, if you're getting like 1,000 hits a day and you tell them you're getting 1 million, they're gonna call you on that. If you're getting 1,000, you tell them you're getting 1,500, you might be able to get away with that. And again, I'm not suggesting stretching that. I'm just talking about kind of the reality of it. That's a great question, and it depends what you're asking for. So if I'm trying to interview like some local band, they're just going to probably say yes. If I'm trying to interview Paul McCartney, well, they're not going to answer the email. But if they did, they would ask for analytics. But again, like, I was talking to like our webmaster guy about this. What's to stop them? Do they want a screen capture? Do they want a password to see my Google Analytics? Because I'm not going to give them that. So there's probably, I should know this, but there's probably a way for them to check that. They probably have some paid app that they could double check what you're saying. But I recently had an interview presented to me. It was kind of weird. They said, do you want to interview this person that's coming to Philadelphia? And I said, yes. And then they asked me for my analytics. And I thought they kind of went about that the wrong way, because they offered the interview first and then said, well, I need to run this by management. And I gave them the analytics, but I also told them we recently interviewed Alice Cooper and Yoko Ono. And I was kind of saying those two people are way bigger than the artist you're representing. I didn't need to tell them that to do that. And the girl's like, holy crap, Alice Cooper, how was that? Okay, the interview's Saturday. You know. It comes into play more so when you're asking with advertising, which is obvious. If you're going to advertise on TV or a newspaper, you want to know how many people you're going to reach, and your ad rates are set by how many people you're going to reach. So if I'm going to ask, you know, I keep mentioning the Kirby Center, but we have a really good relationship with their director. His name is Will Beekman. He's been great from the beginning of this. He's been on board and sees a future in the site, I think. But when I met with him and gave him a little advertising pitch, I actually had analytics to show him. Because I wasn't just asking for tickets, because again, like I said, those tickets are built into their budget. If you ever had a free ticket to a concert, usually says $0 on it. It's built into their budget to help promote the show. They have so many comps. Now, if the show's not selling well, you're going to see more comps out there, and all your friends are going to say, hey, you know, there's free tickets. If it's a sold-out show, there's not going to be many comps. Maybe like select press. But for that, they're not. If I ask the Kirby Center for 100 tickets to a show, they would want to see analytics. If I ask for 2 pairs, they'd say fine. But like Alice Cooper, I think that's sold out. So if I ask them now for comp tickets, they just might not have them, whatever the analytics would be. But that mostly comes down to an advertising issue. And it's another reason you want to build your traffic, because you want to get to a point where you could ask for a decent ad rate. You know, there's kind of general rates out there, and you kind of feel them out, and you find out what other websites are charging for their traffic. And, you know, so that's the way we run that. But that's a great question.
I'd like to know if you manage a formal editorial calendar.
I have a Google Calendar that I've been using, and I've given the other people that work for us access to it, but I haven't done that yet, and it's something I should do. And I'm open to suggestions on that, what different programs are useful. When I started this, I don't want to say I wasn't serious about it, but I wasn't super serious about it, so I was just kind of taking notes. Like even here, like I've written like Saturday, post this, and that's kind of the way I operate, which it's not really super efficient. And then I kind of, if I look at my Google Calendar now, there's a list of things that I was going to post this week that I didn't post yet. But a lot of it, you just want to be timing with it. So like I have alerts on there, like if I did an interview with someone at the concert, and the concert's Tuesday, I better get that posted by Monday or like at least Tuesday morning. So short answer, no, I don't really.
Well, she maybe that's required to want to come into the session with Leslie and Michelle and I, where we're actually going to be talking about how to use online collaboration tools for teamwork.
Yeah, that's great.
What are some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, even like Google Docs, you know,
exactly.
is one thing I miss. Like, this is kind of a side tangent, but I used to work at a local paper called The Weekender, and my favorite thing there was working with interns. And I had a rule that we wouldn't publish your story unless you would come in and sit down with me and we wrote the story together. Because when I was in college, I hated when I'd write something and I'd pick up the paper the next day and it was totally different because the editor rewrote it. So this was, let's talk about it, let's go through it, let's revise it together. And I have 3 Temple students writing for the site. I'm not going to drive down there, have them drive up. But with Google Docs, maybe we could go on, or there's so many chat things you could do. You could Skype, you could, you know. So I want to get more into that instead of like, okay, there's your article, let me spell check it and post it. I want it to be, you know, a better experience for everyone involved.
Great.
Any other questions?
Yeah, actually, it's all
Oh,
questions
yeah.
that, which is, do you have a plan for your growth? And do you have goals and objectives, say, kind of short-term,
Yeah.
mid, and long-term?
Yeah.
How do you decide those things?
Well, it's a lot of it is based on actual numbers. So one goal I have is to get 500 Facebook. What do they call them? Likes.
I think we can all contribute there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
What is your Facebook page name?
It's just how you run it. It's pretty simple to find. And if you go to our website, there's links there to go right to Facebook and Twitter. And hopefully Instagram. We just started Instagram a couple weeks ago, which has been great for concerts, by the way. There's some good Flaming Lips photos on our Instagram right now. One goal was to get to 500 Facebook likes. And we were like 100, 200, 300. And it got around to like 450. Then I got sick of every morning saying 450, 452, 454. So I bought an ad. And I said, I'll stop this ad when it gets to 500 so I can just see that number. And within like 2 days, it went to like 520, and then it's like whatever. So I let it go till I used $50 because I'm not really making money yet on the site. So like, I'll spend 50. I don't want to get carried away. With 50, I was able to get, we're close to 700. Maybe by today, with you guys' help, we'll get to 700. So that's one thing. Twitter has been a struggle, to be honest. We have less than 200 Twitter followers. But if you look, and I don't know if it's a Northeast PA thing or if it's in general, you look at a lot of people's Facebook and their Twitter, and it's not even close. Like they'll have 2 million Facebook fans and like 100,000 Twitter followers. Twitter seems to be really, you almost need to be like a Britney Spears, like a Kim Kardashian, like a major pop culture icon. People that, like I've looked at pretty decent like sites, like content-related websites, and their Twitter, they don't have a strong, they have a strong Twitter presence with what they do, but as far as the numbers, they're not that great. So a goal there, I don't know, 500. And then as far as hits with analytics, we're just trying to make sure that that graph keeps going up. And the one promising thing is our bad days are pretty good. Our bad days used to be like, mine were like 20 people. Like, man, 19 are probably me, you know, like refreshing. Now, like a bad day is pretty solid, and I think that's what you want to pitch to advertisers and stuff. Like, if we have a day that's just hasn't been that great, we had no psych about it, and we still got a decent amount there. So that's one thing. I would love, I mean, it's a bit of a pipe dream, but as I get more serious with it, I would love to make this a full-time thing, or at least a half-time thing where I could make enough money where I could make like half my living off of it and then spend the half time like freelancing or something. There's like 2 ways that probably could happen. One is someone buys the site, or I get some crazy millionaire investor. That's possible. I was hoping Chris Jones would be here. Not saying it's crazy, but he is an investor. The thing, what's happening now is a lot of sites, sports sites and music sites, a lot of small sports blogs have been getting bought out by Fox and ESPN. So there could be some blog you follow by some like local writer, and you don't realize it in the small print at the bottom. It says part of like Fox Sports Network. Spin magazine, they have a Spin Media thing. A lot of the major sites now, if you go to Stereo Gum, I think it's like the #2 indie site right behind Pitchfork. Spin owns that. So I heard a story about the student that goes to Drexel now, that started a site, like this punk rock website, and Spin started like sniffing around once he was getting 100,000 monthly unique visitors, and they bought 80% of his site. So what that means is they get 80% of his profits, and he gets 20%. But they're also giving him a salary and a budget. So if I could find someone that would pretty much buy the site, pay me to do it, and I'd have to have some sort of lawyer, some legal thing where they don't just buy it and fire me. Because I mean, what they're buying is your traffic. That's what they want. They don't care about the content. They don't care if it's good. I mean, there's a website I look at every day. It's a gossip site called What Would Tyler Durden Do? And it's horrible. Like they take terrible shots at celebrities. It's awful. And the stuff they say about the whole Kardashian family is it's terrible. It's obscene. Now, if you go down at the bottom, it's Celeb Buzz owned by blah blah blah, and it lists the various sites they own. All the Kardashians, they own all their sites. They don't care. You know, they don't care. I don't want to say your content's irrelevant. I want to build good content, so should anyone. But you're building good content to build a reputation, to get more hits, and that's what the investors, you know, they don't want it to suck, but if I had a terrible website that had tons of traffic, that would be more viable in the marketplace, you know. But, you know, that's like long term. Short term would be like, you know, 1,000 Facebook fans and like 500 Twitter followers. And other like things we want to add to the website, like video. So I'm going to kick around the idea of doing like a Kickstarter, which like fans do all the time. A Kickstarter to raise some money to buy a couple video cameras to do like video interviews and like get bands to do performances and record sessions and stuff like that. So like, you know, that's a thing. So it'd be nice to sell some advertising or do a Kickstarter to raise money for that. So those are pretty much the goals.
So how about your marketing plan? Do you have a marketing plan for to kind of put the future into place?
Well, it's pretty much all in social networking at this point. I really don't, and events, I mean, like this is marketing. Like being here right now, this is marketing. When you do an event like this, it's not just being here, it's any press about the event. People go to the website, People that don't even come here may come to the website because they've seen it on Twitter or something. And the same thing we did Arts on the Square, to have your name, your website on the map for the event, like literally on the map too, which is great. A lot of social networking. We're going to look into promoted tweets. I don't know if anyone here today is talking about that. I'd be interested in hearing it. You could, from what I understand, you could target these tweets. If you see, I hate them as a reader, so I don't want to be that annoying person. But like, if I'm going through a Twitter feed, I'm like, I don't follow this person. Why are they in my feed? LinkedIn, I hate it too. I'm like, hi, this is terrible. Even if I'm interested, like, I'm offended in a way. So I'm going to try doing that soon to people. But I'm like, how did you know? Like, it's like on Facebook. I heard this thing a couple years ago. Now it's kind of common knowledge. If you go on Facebook and say like, yay, I'm engaged, within minutes on that right-hand rail, you're going to have wedding dresses, videographers, DJs. And when I first started like doing Facebook, I'm like, oh, how do they know I like that thing? That's actually inspiring. I could go to that restaurant. Well, that's they're mining your information, and it's targeted tweets. And so, I mean, you could like, let's say we wanted to do a targeted tweet about our launch party in Philadelphia. We could find people that have tweeted about a concert in Philadelphia in the last week. There's ways to do that. And then you target the tweet to their newsfeed.
Well, the interesting thing is that in user options in Twitter, in your settings, if you set your Twitter account, if you set your Twitter account up a long time ago and haven't visited those settings since, you won't even realize that you have a ton of options they've added. Most people don't visit their settings that often. But if you go in and look, you'll find now that you can opt in or opt out for targeted tweets. So you have a lot of options.
Don't tell people that.
I'm just telling you because you don't like them. So you
I don't know how effective they are. Just like, anecdotally, I don't think I've ever followed anything that was presented to me as a targeted tweet. Not because of that, and it's, so maybe I'm being mistargeted by somebody.
Well, you can fix that in your settings. Are you using program tweets at all? Do you program any tweets?
No.
So that you have a consistent 24-hour?
No, we haven't, and we need to get more consistent with things like that. I mean, we don't have so much content that we're probably getting to the point where that would be a good idea. And I think it would be a fine line between being too repetitive. I think right now it might be too repetitive because we're probably posting 3 to 5 pieces of new content a day. And if we tweet about each one once or twice, I think that's okay.
And you can add in some questions to engage.
Yeah, start conversations.
Yeah. Start conversations.
Oh yeah.
So program in some questions.
I mean, if it's something like the Huffington Post, I mean, they have too much content and it's overwhelming, and they need something like that.
Right.
But I think that is a good idea.
You mentioned that your website, your template is
WordPress, yeah.
You start on WordPress, and then also when did you decide to get that help that you mentioned?
Okay, yeah. Well, I started with WordPress because I wanted something free, and that was 2 years ago. And I kind of tinkered around with it. It looked like something, I'm not super like web savvy computer. I know a little bit of HTML that I had learned previously. I did that. I got some help from a different friend. Rich, his name is, and he helped me out. And I kind of looked at it, and another friend of mine said, this looks like a WordPress site, and there's a lot of them out there. And if I got like an email inquiry or an interview inquiry, and I saw this, I'm like, this kind of looks like one of those sites that you look at and check out and bookmark and come back 2 months later, it hasn't been updated and it's done. He said, even if you are updating it, he said, you know what, let's do something better. And he offered me a deal where he would redesign the website, and in exchange for that, instead of paying him, he had a small record label locally, and I wrote some press releases and bios for him. I basically did PR for his label for a little while. So something he would have paid for, something I would have paid for, we just swapped. So he found this thing called Squarespace, which he really liked. And I told him, do what you want. Just design the site and let me know what you come up with. I don't really have a preference. Show me what you come up with. So we sat down, looked it over. He did a great job with it. It was a paid thing. Eventually it got hacked, or it didn't. I couldn't tell if it got hacked. The hosting people called me and said it was hacked, and they wanted me to pay to get them to fix it. And I did, and then they wanted me to pay like $700 to make sure like it would never happen again. And I told them no. So I don't know if it was ever hacked. I'm like, could you show me what happened? Like, well, no, I mean, our engineers are looking through it, and they're just saying all these technical words to get me to shut up, and it worked, and they got their money. So I don't know. I didn't want to call it bluffing. So that was friend number 2. I guess I have a lot of friends that helped me out with the site. That was friend number 2. Friend number 3 is like this crazy, not crazy, but he's like this genius Temple student that turns 21 like in a week. He's a high school intern for me at the weekend, and he just learns a lot of stuff. He said, I want to redesign the site. I said, okay. So how much money do you want? He said, nothing. I said, okay, that's great. So he did it, and he has some back-end programming on here. So there's some stuff on there that aren't templated in WordPress. Cool thing is though, after he redesigned the site, it looked more professional. We got better reaction to it, a lot of good comments. And I think when you look at it, again, the design really helps. It looked pretty good. But this guy, his name is Matt Morgus, the Temple student. He was starting to get, I just put a thing on LinkedIn and Facebook saying, thank you, Matt Morgus, for the great new redesign of our site. He was getting offers from people saying, I want you to redesign my site, I want to pay you. And he texted me, he said, check out this company, they want to fly me out to LA. I'm like, okay. I checked it out, they designed Justin Timberlake and Foo Fighters websites. And he said, I can't take a job, I'm in school. I don't know, I wouldn't advise him to drop out of school, but I think eventually